Welcome to the Rink Rap Podcast right here on Forever Blueshirts. I'm Jim Cerny. Thanks for tuning in. There is so much to get to with the New York Rangers this week. So much so, I don't need a guest. I don't need to sit here and do an interview, listen to somebody else's opinions. I've got things to say. A lot of things to say. Trade deadline's behind us. That stinking weekend for the Rangers is behind us. There's a lot to go. We're going to delve into what's coming up, the big 3-game road trip for the Rangers and kind of what lies ahead for them. Really some busy hockey schedule for them. And also look at the bigger picture of where the Rangers are headed now that the trade deadline's behind them. The offseason is kind of on the near horizon, what the plans might be, what the strategy might be. So a little bit of everything, a little back, a little present, and a little bit of the future. And so I'm going to do it all by myself. Not that I want to knock any of our previous guests, because it's been awesome leading up to the trade deadline, previewing things with Marty Biron last week. We had Neil Smith, the 94 Stanley Cup winning GM with the Rangers. He was on a couple weeks ago as well. Colin Stevenson from Newsday, Dan Rosen from NHL.com. We've had some great guests on and great reaction from you, the fans, to their interviews leading into the trade deadline. But now that we've passed it, I want to get things off my chest, especially after this weekend. So we're going to fly solo today, and then we'll see. Maybe we'll do another pod later in the week, maybe welcome in another guest, or maybe I'll still be fired up and want to just talk my head off and make you listen to me instead, because that's what we're going to do right now. But I've incorporated you into this because a lot of you have been firing me messages on X. That is when X was actually working after the Columbus game on Sunday, a little bit on Monday morning, but then kaput. I don't know what happened to X. I just know that everything just keeps spinning and you can't upload anything and you can't look at your feed. There is no feed to look at. So hopefully that will change moving forward here. But so, okay. I have had contact with the fans, and I'm going to incorporate you into this as well, because there's a lot to say here. This past weekend was statement weekend for the New York Rangers. It was time for Big Brother to flex his muscles, look at the little siblings, the upstarts, the Ottawa Senators, Columbus Blue Jackets, and say, all right, hey, this has been fun. Playoff race and everything. I know people are excited, but guess what? This is the home stretch. 20 games away from the Stanley Cup playoffs. We know what that's all about. Conference final, 2 out of the past 3 seasons. We're looking to make the playoffs a 4th straight season. Yeah, we had our troubles in November and December, but we've kind of righted the ship. And, we've got JT Miller now, and Carson Soucy arrived at the trade deadline. We've kind of figured our things out, and we've turned a corner since the new year. And guess what? We're the New York Rangers. Time for us to play Big Brother. And, we're going to take this weekend in Ottawa Saturday, at home against Columbus on Sunday. We're going to put those teams in their place, and we're going to move on with the rest of our schedule and move ourselves up in the playoff race, move ourselves into the top wild card, which the Rangers could have done heading into this weekend. However, Rangers did make a statement. Not a good one. In fact, a terrible one this weekend. They looked the part of a team that even if they do make the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I know I've said even back in November and December, during all their struggles, I've said, you know what? At the end of the day, I think the Rangers make it in. I think they do. I still do. Even after this weekend, I think they still make the playoffs. But do you have any confidence in that team winning a round, making a run? No way. No way. They fold, right? You see them defensively? You can't win. You can't have sustainable success with team defense like that. Blowing the lead against Washington earlier in the week was one thing. You're up 2-1 on Washington. Washington goes on the power play, and oh, hey, never heard this before. Alex Ovechkin scores a power play goal, right? A big power play goal, ties the game. And then Washington wins in overtime. All right. You're not happy about it. It's a lost point. You played well up until that point. You certainly didn't play poorly in that game. You lost the point, but it's the Washington Capitals. Alex Ovechkin, he's done it to everybody. He's done it to the Rangers. How many times over his career? All right. Not happy about it, but you get it. And Washington, so many things are going their way this season. You know, top team in the Eastern Conference. Okay. But then you get Ottawa on the road. You've got them down 3-1. And I know Ottawa was playing a pretty good game. You know, there were stretches there. They were really taking it to the Rangers. They were pushing the play. I thought they were more proactive than reactive. I thought the Rangers were the opposite, more reactive than proactive. But Artemi Panarin scores that goal in the third period and restores a 2-goal lead. You're up 2-0 early. Now it's 3-1. You get to midway through the third period, right? You got to put your foot on their neck and finish them off. Now I get it. You've been relying on Igor Shesterkin the entire game. And sometimes you can only, go to the well so many times. And we've learned that this year with the team. Where Shesterkin or Quick has propped up the Rangers, kept them in a game, gave them an opportunity, and sometimes they see it through. But quite often, it's just one too many great opportunities. It's one too many scrambles in front of the net where the Rangers are running around like chickens without heads, right? Isn't that the phrase? That's what they look like. It happened again. 2 scrambles. Ottawa scores. Now we're 3-3. You still have a chance to salvage this one. Get it. Now the crowd is going nuts. You're on the road. You're on your heels. You just blew a 2-goal lead with under 10 minutes to play. But Keandre Miller's egregious, terrible, shitty giveaway 30 seconds into overtime. I don't know what he's thinking. JT Miller's going this way up the ice. So Keandre Miller decides to toss it behind him, bang it off the wall. Ottawa intercepts, 2-on-1. Oh boy, here comes Brady Tkachuk skating down the middle. Boom, puck's in the net. You can argue, maybe Igor should have made the save, went between his pads. But I'm not hanging this one on Igor. Rangers lose 4-3. Lose a point again. And now you give Ottawa life, right? Lots of life. Ottawa's like, whoa, look what we can do. Look what we did to them. They had us down 2-0. They had us down 3-1 late. We beat them. Where's your statement, Rangers? Got to come back then on Sunday and really make a statement against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are an amazing story this season in the NHL. Amazing. And I've said here on the podcast, and I know this is mainly Ranger driven and everything, but I've said it. I would love to see Columbus in the postseason. Love it. Love it. They are the ultimate underdog. Not that they don't have good young talent on that team. Not that they're not an up-and-coming team, but more so because of everything that organization's gone through. Pooped on for past several years, and then the terrible Johnny Gaudreau tragedy this summer and everything. And yet that team has made a statement all year. We're not going away. We're not going to let that beat us. Don Waddell, their GM, before the trade deadline, stepped in and doubled down on that. Said, I'm not breaking up this mix. We've got a few unrestricted free agents here, probably led by Ivan Provorov at the top of the list. But you know what? I'm not trading any of them. I'm keeping this group together. I believe in this group. That's his statement. And Columbus comes out, first period last night. Thought an evenly played first period. Rangers might have even been the better team. Tarasov was good in goal for Columbus. Panarin, though, ties the game with under a minute to go in the first period. Then the Rangers get a power play right at the end of the first that carries over into the second. So you're 1-1, you're home building, just itching to make a statement, to put your foot onto the necks of the Columbus Blue Jackets and say, hey, it's been nice, but And we're not going to blow 2 of these games in a row like we did against Ottawa Saturday. We're going to stop it right here and now, and we're going to leapfrog Ottawa, and we're going to move into the first wild card. Here is our chance. As it turned out, their first chance in this game. Rangers don't score on the power play. What happens? Columbus, boom, boom. Adam Fantilli scores off the rush. Adam Fantilli left all alone. Like, he's a ghost. We didn't know he was there. Didn't see him. We're Ghostbusters. They should have, gotten rid of him. Rangers lose Adam Fantilli in the slot, just like they lost the puck battle behind the goal line that Columbus won to set up the pass to Fantilli, who scores, boom, 2 goals, 26 seconds. Unbelievable. The Garden just becomes an absolute crypt. It's 3-1 Columbus. Now Columbus goes to the power play. Only after Will Borgen saved the Rangers' bacon by, Quick was, way out of position. Borgen's down in the blue paint and somehow sticks out his left arm and makes an incredible save. So they're still in it. But now, Columbus gets the power play. They could put the Rangers away, right? Goal here, down 3. The building is like a morgue. What happens? The Rangers are up for 2 shorthanded goals. Braden Schneider, there's one. Talk about not picking up your man and leaving him wide open. I don't know what Columbus was doing there. Remember, they had the 5 guys on the ice. The Rangers had the 4. Schneider wide open, hammers one home. Now the crowd's back in it. Rangers on it. Boom! 42 seconds later, breakaway. 2-0. How the hell does that happen? 2-0. Breakaway. Shorthanded. Kreider to Zibanejad. Zibanejad to Kreider. Kreider to Zibanejad. Zibanejad back to Kreider. Goal. Tie game. Pandemonium at the Garden. Those Columbus Blue Jackets, those upstart Columbus Blue Jackets, you got to be thinking in your head, there's the statement from the Rangers. All right, you had your 3-1 lead. You had your chance. You had a chance to bury us here. We got you. We got you now. The only problem was the rest of the game, for the most part, played out at even strength. And guess what? Rangers were outscored 7-1 at even strength on Sunday. 7-1. That's what happened to them. That's what happened. Blue Jackets, as soon as they got back to even strength, went back to their game, went back to winning puck battles in the offensive zone, went back to, reclaiming their game, dictating the game. And they scored 2 goals late, and all of a sudden you blink your eyes and you're like, holy heck. We just scored 2 goals and 2 shorthanded goals in 42 seconds on the same penalty kill. That has happened no times. 0 in the last 11 years for this franchise. Not since 2014 when Alain Vigneault was behind the bench. And hey, that was the year Rangers went to the Stanley Cup final against the Kings. 11 years ago. That's how rarely this happens. Guess what? And I wrote this on X when it was working, and wrote it in my game story as well for Forever Blueshirts, right? If somebody told you, guess what? Man, my team, they scored 2 shorthanded goals in 42 seconds on the same penalty kill. Oh, wow. Woo! That's a statement. What'd they win by? Oh, yeah, no, they lost 7-3. They didn't score another goal after that uprising. Columbus scored 2 to end the period, 2 more later in the third, including Adam Fantilli finishing off the hat trick, and boom, there you go. There's your statement. There is your statement made by the Rangers. The same garbage that you saw in November and December still lives in their DNA. Names have changed, right? There are guys gone from that stretch that were part of that stretch. New players have come in. Same garbage. Same garbage. So I mentioned how it incorporates some of the fans that were, just pissed off after this one and looking to lay blame. And I'd say the vast majority of the messages I received on Twitter, the notifications I received at the end of this game, were ripping apart the coach, Peter Laviolette. Gotta go. Should be fired. Phil Housley's name came in there as well. He, of course, is an assistant coach. He's in charge of the defensemen. So, he was kind of mixed in there as well. But I'd say 90% of the messages I got from fans were that Peter Laviolette's got to go. And here's the thing. I do not disagree that the coach, the coaching staff, they share in the blame here, right? I mean, you can go through all the reasons why. These breakdowns, the lack of structure, how the man-to-man defense just doesn't work, especially with the group that's still trying to, figure each other out with all the changes. Then you can talk about the other things too, how the Rangers have looked unprepared at times, not prepared to start games, slow starts, 12 games in which I allowed the game opening goal within the first 2 minutes. I mean, you know the numbers. You've lived through it this season. A lot of that is on the coach. I'm not going to lie. A lot of that's on the coach. So he shares in this blame. The GM shares in the blame. He puts the roster together. So there's blame there. Phil Housley, absolutely. I mean, his defense core looks like Keystone Cops a lot of the time. Three stooges running around, running into each other. Yuck, yuck, yuck. That's all that's missing from the soundtrack. But at the end of the day, man, it's the players. You guys can't figure this out. A lot of times it's the same culprits too. I'll tell you who's had a brutal stretch. And I don't mean to single out one guy, but of course I'm going to single out one guy here because I think he's really good. And I think he's going to have a good career. He's still a young player. But since the Four Nations break, it's had a rough go is Braden Schneider. Really rough go defensively. I thought he was flying offensively yesterday. He had not only the shorthanded goal, but he had a couple of other really good scoring opportunities. But he's not winning enough battles. Rangers lose so many one-on-one battles behind the goal line, in the corners, along the walls, in their own zone. Fail to get pucks out of their own end. Just get pinned deep. Oh, wait a minute. Where did that all start? Where did we really focus on it a lot last year? It happened in the regular season at times, but they were winning the President's Trophy last year, so we didn't pay too much attention to it. Where did it really show up? The Eastern Conference Final against the Panthers. And how it is just carried over into this season. And again, a lot of these guys, there's been a lot of player and roster movement here, but the issues persist. And the Rangers got to frighten you when you see that. They got to frighten you. Even if they make the playoffs, what are they going to do? They're going to make a run? We talk about, well, yeah, they can do that because, Igor can go on an incredible run in the postseason, carry him on his back. Well, guess what? He's won games like that in the regular season. I think he is so mentally worn down. Jonathan Quick, same thing. From standing on their heads, night in, night out. And it had gotten better. It had gotten better the past few weeks. After the Buffalo game, right? Coming out of the Four Nations. After that, they got better. They tightened things up defensively. But it's their DNA. We talk about statements. Here's the statement. Their DNA is that crappy own zone play that we've seen all season. Makes you wonder a little bit. And I like Will Borgen, and I'm not against the signing. But it makes you wonder a little bit, like why Chris Drury is like such a hurry to get Will Borgen and Urho Vakanainen, signed to contracts for next year. Let's lock into these guys. Not, let's see what other options are out there, in free agency or trade or whatever it might be. I mean, their defense is pretty much set for next year. Carson Soucy arrived. He's under contract through next year. Borgen signed a 5-year deal. Vakanainen signed a 2-year deal. Fox has whatever X amount of, years to go on his contract. Keandre Miller is, pending RFA with arbitration rights. Still could be traded. doesn't appear that's the road that they're going down. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they start next year with Miller Fox as the top pairing. I mean, we'll see. But I think that's the way it's going down. Braden Schneider, of course, is still here. We heard all the stories about how much Vancouver wanted him. And the Rangers basically, said hands off. There's no way we're going to trade Braden Schneider. So this same group of defensemen is going to be your group again next season. Now, the follies in their own end of the ice are not just on the defensemen. It's the laissez-faire back-checking or getting involved or not picking up men in the slot. Oh my gosh, how many open chances in the slot, for Columbus yesterday, and how many losing battles, in the low slot, outside the crease, in the crease against Ottawa the previous game. Because Vanagad, not exactly his strength. Alexis Lafreniere, come on, man. How about a little defensive play? JT Miller, listen, doing it both ends of the ice. He's a great example. Maybe a full season of JT next year. Maybe getting more guys that will follow his lead. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the offseason plan is. But really, more help. Help. Up and down the lineup. And I love the fourth line against Columbus. Loved a lot of the things the fourth line did in the offensive zone. They still had some pretty crappy moments in the defensive end too. It's not so, it's everybody. It's up and down the forward group. It's all of your defensemen losing battles, losing the one-on-ones, losing your men, wide open opportunities. Listen, Quick didn't look great yesterday, but it was hard to judge his game when you're facing grade A after grade A. Woo. So there's your statement, right? The statement going into the weekend was, we're big brother. We're going to show the little siblings how it's done. This is our playoff race, not theirs. They're the upstarts. Let's put an end to that. Well, here we are after those 2 games. Now 18 games to go. And, Columbus, Ottawa, you don't think that they took a little bit of confidence out of not only defeating the Rangers, but how they did it? They took the Rangers' best punch, pretty much. Ottawa down 3-1, down 3-1, 10 minutes to go. Columbus, tie game 3-3 after the Rangers scored twice shorthanded in 42 seconds. They took the Rangers' best punches, and they both came out on top. They made the positive statements. The Rangers, negative statements for the Rangers. Whew. How many times, seriously, how many times have you heard of a team score twice shorthanded on the same penalty kill and lose? Right? I don't know. I guess I could look it up. Maybe it happens all the time. Maybe I'm just missing it on the highlights. Not that I don't watch, all the games and all the highlights and everything. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it happens all the time. But guess what? I don't think so. That's a game you win. That's a game you win when you come back, roar back, and tie like that. Maybe the Rangers should have taken more penalties. I said that in my 3 takeaways today, tongue in cheek, of course. Maybe take more penalties. Their penalty kill is 3rd in the league, 13 shorties on the season. Maybe that's the way to go, because even strength, they were putrid in that second period, especially, but even through stretches of the first and third periods as well. Mainly that second period. They were just run out of the building at even strength by the Columbus Blue Jackets when they scored 4 times in that period. So again, whose fault is it? It's a share of the wealth. It's not just the defensemen. It's not just the forwards. It's just not the coach. It's not just the assistant coach in charge of the defenseman. It's not just the GM. This is a collective fail by the New York Rangers. And they have proven to us that this is their DNA. This is who they are. They've played better. They're still right there to grab a playoff spot over the final 18 games. Like, panic doesn't need to set in. But at the end of the day, you see what they really are. Like, even when they're better, this is who they are. That's a pretty frightening concept. So, quick thoughts on the trade deadline as well. What the Rangers did their final week, it all made sense, right? It's hard to nitpick here and say, oh, maybe we should kept Ryan Lindgren or, whatever. Nobody was saying keep Riley Smith, so I won't even use that example. But, you trade Lindgren, you trade Smith, you trade Vesey, you weren't bringing any of them back. No issues there. You flip that third round pick that you got for Smith, you flip it to get Carson Soucy, who I like. I don't think he's a stud defenseman, but I think he can be a solid top 4 guy. And who knows, maybe he ends up being a bottom pair guy, with this team. We'll see. We'll see how it breaks out, next season as well. But I like him. I think that's a decent addition. Just like I thought Will Borgen was a decent addition. The one I'm not sold on is Earl Vakanainen. I don't think he's been bad. It's just I don't see a lot of upper potential. The ceiling, I don't see that it's so high with Vakanainen. I don't know that I would have rushed to sign him to a contract, though I get it. Maybe he's your 7th guy next year. He's your extra defenseman, $1.5 million a year, more than Zach Jones is making, but okay. And maybe there is another move, maybe that Jacob Chikrin trade is still out there to be made for the Rangers. I don't know. But the Carson Soucy trade, I had no problem with. It's a guy that I talked about, 6-8 weeks in advance of the trade deadline that I thought would be a good fit with the Rangers, knowing that he'd be available from Vancouver as well. So we'll see. We'll see how that one plays out. Certainly gives some size and physicality to the back end. Guy that blocks a lot of shots. He's kind of a bigger, stronger Ryan Lindgren, more mobile as well. Probably could produce a little bit more, or at least equal offensively. Again, no issues with what they did before the deadline. The Nicholas Obi-Cabell acquisition for Eric Brandstrom. Okay. Gives you another guy that's played in the NHL, been on a Stanley Cup champion with the Avalanche. Gives you another option, should somebody get hurt. But I'm telling you, down the stretch, I want to see a lot of Brennan Othman. I want to see a lot of Brett Berard. And to be honest, probably even Arthur Kaliev. Let's see what we've got, in these guys. If I'm Chris Drury, I'm Peter Laviolette. Of course, you're trying to get into the playoffs, but let's see what you've got in these other guys. So speaking of X, again, X is down, as you know, right now. I pointed that out a few times. Somebody messaged me on X, and I forget the direct quip that it was, but it was pretty good. It says, hey, not bad. A week after, trading away, Lindgren and Vesey, what do we have to show for it? 2 guys that are sitting in the press box. Parsonen scratched, DeHaan scratched. Oof. So I thought Calvin DeHaan was pretty good in his first 3 games. Like, for who he is at this stage of his career, very, I thought he was very physical, blocked a ton of shots, a lot of hits. He's credited with a lot of hits. I like that. I like the edge he was bringing to the back end. But I get it. You get Carson Soucy. So Soucy's going to play ahead of Calvin DeHaan. Now DeHaan is your extra defenseman. That's not a bad thing. If you want to swap him in for Vakanainen here and there, but whatever the case might be. So no issues that he was scratched the previous 2 games. Parsonen. I had a guy flip out on me when I said Rangers made the right move. I'd put Berard in the lineup too against Columbus, and I would sit Parsonen. I had zero issues with that move made by Peter Laviolette. And somebody just tears into me. He's like, oh, it's Berard and not Bedard, yeah, no kidding. Not saying Brett Berard is a star player here or needs to be in the lineup every game. But you know what? He brings energy. He's a good 4th line player that can produce offensively for you in your bottom 6. Brings speed to the lineup. This is not a fast team. And he brings jam to your team too. He's a little guy, gets in your face, seems to always be in the mix. Right? He's noticeable. You know who's not noticeable out there? Juuso Parsonen. That's not saying he can't play for this team. He can't be a bottom six player for this team, either at center or on the wing. He can be, and he deserves an opportunity. But really, what did he do those first 3 games that screamed, gotta keep Juuso Parssinen in the lineup? What did he do? You tell me. Maybe I'm missing something. He jumped in, good teammate, jumped in for Brennan Othman, got into a fight against Washington. Didn't exactly fare too well, but okay. Listen, I like the fact that he jumped in there, and I'm sure his teammates loved it, his coach loved it. But other than that, really, do you notice Parssinen? A little physical in a couple of the games, but it does nothing offensively, right? Seems to be, kind of on the periphery, not generating much. In fact, I got to look it up. I'm going by memory. I don't think he has got a shot on goal in his first 3 games with the Rangers. Defensively, it's okay. Again, he seemed to be involved, seems to have an understanding defensively. Wasn't great. Certainly wasn't a difference maker. So, okay, you swap in Brett Berard. No issues for me. Get a little more speed, a little more jump, a little more grit in the lineup. No problem. Doesn't mean he stays in the lineup forever. Doesn't mean Parssinen sits in the press box forever. But I like the move. I thought it was the right thing to do. So you got that. And I'm going to end with this. And something I wrote about in the 3 takeaways today. You tell me. You tell me who you like better, who you want long term. Do you want the 23-year-old former number 1 overall pick who's had himself one really, really good season? We thought he was on the cusp of just taking off to be a star in the NHL, but has really fallen flat this season. And really here, as others have picked up their games, I still don't love the 2-way game of Alexis Lafreniere. No goals in 12. Hey, he's been picking up the assists. That's because Artemi Panarin's scoring. So, get him the puck. Like yesterday, get an assist. You just get Panarin the puck. He's on a heater right now. So there's Lafreniere, right? Massively disappointing season. Again, I don't think the contract has anything to do with it, but it did coincide with him signing that big extension. But not scoring, not getting the puck on net. 5 shots on goal in his past 7 games. You play with Artemi Panarin, right? Great playmaker and goal scorer. But a great player. You play with Vincent Trocheck, a hardworking guy who, sorry about that, knocked over my thing here, getting my water bottle, getting a little fired up, right? You would think there would be more there from Alexis Lafreniere. And defensively, we touched on that before. So would you rather have him? And this is an unfair question because Adam Fantilli is coming off a hat trick against the Rangers yesterday. But you look at his body of work, 20-year-old, second season, former 3rd overall pick. Would you rather have Adam Fantilli, the center? Would you have who 3 years younger than Lafreniere? Already 21 goals in his second NHL season, which really is his first full season because health-wise, he was only able to play 49 games last year. Just things that make you think. It's not like the Rangers, had a chance, to have Adam Fantilli and they passed him over for Alexis Lafreniere. I'm just talking about looking at it. They're not apples to apples, right? Completely. Just worth a thought. Adam Fantilli's a good player. I know Ranger fans probably hate him right now, but he's a good player. A lot of skill there. Was involved, got in some dirty areas, knew how to elude the defense. I don't know how the Rangers kept losing him in the slot, but they did. Maybe part of the credit is to him finding the open areas. Wicked shot off that rush to beat Jonathan Quick for his first goal of the hat trick. Anyway, Adam Fantilli, Alexis Lafreniere. When X is working again, I'm at Jim Cerny. Says it right there. At Jim Cerny. Message me. Let me know. Think I'm nuts? Beginning of the year, I would have said Lafreniere because I thought I bought in. I thought he was taking off. I saw him in the playoffs against Florida. That was a lot of big boy hockey that he played when the rest of his teammates went south, he went north. Not liking how he's followed up that season this year. Really liking the progression that Adam Fantilli is on. So anyway, just a little food for thought. Doesn't mean anything. And the Rangers now moving forward. Yeah, you want to make the playoffs. I still think they'll make the playoffs. They have a tough road trip coming up here. Starts in Winnipeg. It's a 3-game road trip starting Tuesday. You're in Winnipeg against the Jets. Been top of the league standings pretty much all year. It's a tough one. Winnipeg's not playing their best hockey right now, though. Rangers need to somehow find a way to get in there and steal 2 points. You got a winnable game against Minnesota after that on Thursday. Now that Minnesota is not a good team. I mean, they're in a playoff spot too. But again, not playing their best hockey right now. Beat up, missing some key cogs in their lineup, and not a good home team. They've been great on the road. Not a good home team. It's a winnable game. For a desperate, hungry Rangers team on the road, that's a winnable game. But again, let's see what kind of statement the Rangers make. Oh, and speaking of statements, Saturday night in Columbus, Nationwide Arena, rematch against the Blue Jackets. Love it. What do you got, Rangers? What do you got? What do you got, Blue Jackets? Both teams. Statement game. Huge game. Final matchup head-to-head between them this year, between those two teams. Massive game. Rangers will have 15 games left on their schedule after that one. Oh, and by the way, the next night they head home. They welcome in Connor McDavid and company. So, there's that as well. So tough week ahead for the Rangers. Tough road ahead. Trade deadlines in the past. Now, Chris Drury, he sits back. Let me see how these guys, what happens here. But he's got to be thinking ahead. Not that he hasn't been, but got to be thinking ahead to next off season and what the game plan's going to be. And certainly we'll get into more of that in future podcasts as well. Right here on Rink Wrap at Forever Blueshirts. Make sure to follow at Forever Blueshirts on X when it comes back. Follow me at Jim Cerny. I want to hear your comments, want to get your feedback here from everything that we shared, on the podcast today. And hey, we got a lot more to talk about, a lot more hockey to go through. Let's see how the Rangers handle this 0-1-2 stretch, blowing 2 games, and then, blowing a big opportunity against Columbus yesterday. Let's see how they come out of it in a difficult 3-game road trip coming up. All right. So make sure to subscribe right here at the Forever Blueshirts YouTube page. Please subscribe to us and follow us here on the podcast. And I have an inkling we're going to do another one of these later in the week. Let's see how it plays out. But I think we're probably going to double up this week and give you a second podcast as well. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure to follow us, and also make sure to head over to the website, foreverblueshirts.com, for all things New York Rangers. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.